Friday, November 14th, 2024. And I guess today's episode of The View is A Tale of Two Assholes. Um, Many of you have heard the RFK story before, but we have a lot of new subscribers. So let's just tell it again, shall we? RFK Jr., as a youngster, was a drug addict and a drug dealer. And as an adult, when he was convicted of possession of heroin, part of his community service from that conviction took place in a building that was happened to be next to the River Keepers, which was an environmental organization. That's how he hooked up with the River Keepers. That's how he ended up doing all that environmental work to clean up the Hudson River. That's when we thought he was a good guy. But let's jump forward to the brainworm situation where he got a doctor to say that he had a brainworm um, that diminished his capacity to make an income. And that was during his divorce from his second wife. And he used that argument to say he shouldn't be forced to give her money because he has a diminished capacity to make his own money in the future. Also, in that trial of that, or in that divorce, um, he accused his ex-wife of being an abusive alcoholic and tried to use that to remove her from having any kind of custody of their shared two children. This was a wife that was very well liked in the Kennedy family, and a wife that he cheated on. He won that argument. He got to pay less. He didn't have to pay child support because he got the kids taken away from her altogether. Then she killed herself, which everyone, to every account, uh, says that everyone says that's just not in her character. She hung herself in her barn. But as it turns out, prior to that, she had found in some sort of journal that he had kept that he had slept with 37 women the year before they divorced. And she confronted him about it. I don't know anything about what that consisted of, but it would coincide in times of in the Epstein heyday. So it's entirely plausible that it's not just 37 women, but 37 teenagers at Epstein sex trafficked parties, and she had it in black and white, and so she was now a liability, kind of like how Ivana just randomly fell down the stairs and died. When people know things, um, when the spouses know things and they're mad, they seem to disappear. Um, so that's the kind of person that RFK Jr. is. Um, we don't like him just as a human being, besides his batshit crazy views. So no, he should be nowhere near uh, the Department of Health and Human Services. You would think someone with some sort of medical training would be in charge of that. I don't disagree that we need to do a better job of policing our food. That is an absolute correct. Everywhere around the country, industrialized nations have much more protections about what can go into the manufacturing of food. And that's why we have a problem with obesity, but we've let that happen because that's part of the Republican strategy for the last 40 years of keep them dumb, right? Get gut education, keep them sick, so don't give them any good food and don't give them any health care, and keep them poor. Move all the jobs away, and then tell them that the Republicans are the only ones that are going to fix it, and it's worked. I mean, they've bought in hook, line, and sinker to the point where now that they've fallen after a fascist. So the second asshole of the day on The View, fucking Eric Adams, the goddamn mayor of New York City. That man is a crook. Um, his indictment about uh, mm, now I don't really know I don't remember the extent of the charges, but it's broken campaign finance laws and some sort of corruption. But here's the thing: he's been in bed with the Turkish government for years, and it's there's well documented transactions between him and the Turkish government to the point where he only flies on Turkish Airlines no matter where he goes. He buys a regular ticket and they upgrade him to first class to the point, and there's conversations and text messages and emails back and forth with his assistants, and it's like it doesn't matter. I'm not paying for it. Um, to the point where he to fly to Paris he had his assistant book him through Istanbul. That's not the most efficient way to get to Paris from New York. There's direct flights, but not on Turkish Airlines. And he did that for the Turkish consulate. He just sort of waived any kind of occupancy inspection or building inspection so that they could just move right in, build it real quick, and move right in, which happened. He's a crook. Um, he's a shady, you know, wannabe mobster. He's like a Giuliani and a Trump. All just he's this. He's kind of the same cloth. And he is uh, cozying up to Trump because he wants his criminal record removed. He doesn't have a record yet because he hasn't been found guilty. But anyway, and somebody brought up in the comments, um, pardoning Diddy, letting him be a party planner at the White House. I forgot about that. Like, what? Like, are we gonna let Diddy get away with it? Are we gonna let all the sex offenders just get away with it? It's really gross. I really don't like the bullies being in charge. Um, I was just walking my dog this morning, and some red pickup pulled up next to me, just looked at me through the window, and then goes, and I'm just looking at him, and he goes, "Are you Dominic's friend?" I'm like, "I don't know Dominic. He mistook me for somebody else in the neighborhood whose mother he knows." Sitting there with a MAGA hat on, smug ass look on his face. His truck is littered with stupid ass slogans. Um, One of them, as he drove away, it said, "Even my dog hates Biden." And he had scratched on the back of his pickup truck on the what's that the thing that falls down, that part, um scratched MAGA in it. And he was like, "I know her mother," and I said, "Okay, I know his mother." It's like, "Okay." And I just was like, he was just standing there in the road, like staring at me. And so I'm like, I grab the dog leash and I start to walk. And how are you doing? Fine. Like, what the fuck are you doing here? I live on dead end roads. Um, and it was like, it just, it made me feel unsafe. I don't like that at all. I don't want to go through 4 more fucking years of this kind of bullshit. Um, and it's funny, I almost wore my Biden Harris hat when I went out for the walk, but I didn't because it was sunny, and I was like, "Oh, I'd like to get some sun on my head." Oh, anyway, um, we'll see. I feel like the Democrats in charge are just laying down and rolling out the red carpet, and inviting the fascists in. So I don't know that we're going to get a lot of pushback on these confirmations. Trump skipped the FBI background checks for Gates and Gabbard, and that's just okay. Like, we're just going to say that's okay. Elon Musk met with the leader of Iran, which is a violation of the Logan Act, a clear violation. He's not allowed to do that, and we're just going to let him, I guess. Anyway, let's take a page from Anna Navarro and listen to some music, try to find some joy. It's not easy. I'm struggling with joy uh lately, the last couple weeks. Um, but we're going to try to concentrate on things that make ourselves happy and block out some of this noise.